You're listening to That Great Manc Pod, Greater Manchester's community podcast. Top one, aren't you?
Hi, and welcome to the 7th of our Carling sessions, supported by the Carling Made Local Fund. We'll be showcasing some of the amazing creative talent across our Greater Manchester that would normally be entertaining you and your local, helping them build their audience back and hopefully persuading you to grab a ticket for when they're back performing live. In this episode, Damien and I had a chat with Matt Concannon, actor, poet and spoken word performer, the bloke behind The Thirsty Poet, the mobile bar and coffee shop bringing ace poetry to you and your mates. Loads in this episode, topped off with amazing pieces written and performed by Matt. Definitely keep your eye on Matt's socials for news of when he's back performing and where he'll be parked up for your coffee and poetry fix. Oh, and as the Carling sessions are supported by the Carling Made Local Fund, just a reminder to always drink sensibly. To be honest, mate, I only saw that the other day. I always made the assumption that Lowry was Salford, but he wasn't, was he? Trafford, born in Old Trafford, never lived in Salford.
Yeah, I think my granddad used to. My granddad actually was the first person in his house after he passed away. My granddad's a photographer,
Right.
and he's had many exhibitions at the Lowry and featured photographs throughout the Guardian and stuff like that. And yeah, he was there, went straight into the house, got some of the iconic shots of Lowry's house after he passed away, which is quite like eye-opening, really.
Yeah,
you see
yeah.
this guy, this proper, like, obviously, quite, I guess, like tainted in his head. He wasn't quite all there.
No.
A bit of a recluse, a bit of a away from himself, but an amazing artist. Yeah.
Did he manage to get anything else when he was there? And any family heirlooms?
I'm just thinking. I'm glad he confirmed it. He went straight in quick, as my granddad was the first one in the house. He was a photographer. I was like, cat burglar.
Cat burglar.
Is that why you've got a plain wall in the background? You're taking all the pictures down.
I've had to take them all down. It was originally every part of the wall was filled with Lowry's and the Renaissance.
Oh, listen, mate, thanks for doing this. It was not spoke to each other. We contacted each other on social a while back, didn't we? When you brought out the piece, or I think did you write the piece specific, the Manchester piece that you did?
Yeah, that was last year, wasn't it? That was Golden Hour. Yeah, that was written. It was a commission by a Manchester photographer, a lad that I've just got in touch with us after seeing some of the bits and pieces that I put out.
Yeah.
And I think it was a mate of mine, the guy who did the music in it, just the stuff in the background. He'd passed my details on to him.
Right.
And it kind of went from there. And then from that piece, it's that was kind of the foot in the door to other opportunities and other commissions. And it's been a shit year, but it's been a really, really good year in my sort of new field. I've only been doing spoken word for 2 years. So
right.
Yeah, that's all happening.
So why get into the spoken word?
I guess like I said before, I trained as an actor.
Yeah.
Did musical theatre, so my background has always been singing. Really interested in lyrics and the way that songs are put together. Always been good at like memorising lyrics to songs and singing along. And I love sort of rap music. And I think like the spoken word stuff kind of came through. I was on tour with a show, and I had quite a bit of time in my dressing room to just kind of be on my own and in my own thoughts and stuff like that, because it wasn't too much pressure unless I was on stage.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got a bit bored, and I was going to the gym quite a bit, and my observations of what people were like in the gym, I was like, this is important. I need to write something down about this, because I'd noticed like kids going to the gym and like flexing in the mirrors and shit like that. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? I'm 29, and I'm not, I like going to the gym, but I'm not like body conscious. But all of these kids were just like, and I was just like, you're doing yourselves no favors, and you're doing it to fit an aesthetic.
Yeah.
So it's all about the kind of mental health sort of side of things. And I was like, well, mental health is really tough to talk about, especially when you're like, 17, 18, when you're leaving sort of high school. And that's when it's important to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, how can we talk about stuff as that gets through to these people and on their level, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Accessible, to make it accessible for people.
Yeah, definitely make it accessible, because I think it's really important to talk about stuff, and mental health isn't easy to talk about.
Mate, we run we've got a mental health charity, My Spirit. So yeah, you preaching to the converted.
Exactly, that's what I mean. And when I mean, I'm sure when you guys, you're a bit older than us, but like when you were growing up and you were the same sort of age, there'd have been no conversation. It would have been, you'd have been, if you were doing something a bit, what would have been seen as soft, like acting or singing, or you weren't into football or rugby or going out and drinking beer and shit like that. Like it would have been a different sort of story.
I'd have got beat up in Clayton, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah.
My school years were like, if you were a creative, and this is only, 12 years ago or something like that, when I was in high school, I was like, if I was a creative, even the teachers thought I was fucking weird.
Yeah. I
was like, what is going on? I want to do something because I love doing it and I know that I'm good at it. So teachers are a lot to blame for like the mental health of people, especially, growing up and developing as creatives. I think it's absolutely balmy.
I don't think it's the teachers as much, Matt. I think it's the structure. I think the education, and I'm not going right into this. I'm a total anarchist and I'd rip every institution down and start again. But it's the...
I'll cut that bit out.
No, leave it in, mate. Leave it in. I didn't say set things on fire. I said I'd tear down the structures. But it's the education structures. It was built for the mills and it was there to make people work 6 days a week and stuff. It's never adapted. It's not give you the opportunity to be you and explore and create. And, it's not about that. It's about conforming.
My dad's a teacher and he's been the most supportive person. And it's funny because one of my old teachers is actually good friends with my dad. And recently, this week actually, I've been hired by her to teach poetry and spoken word. Now, bear in mind, this teacher in particular was so supportive of being creative, an art teacher, really, really on it, but understood from the other teachers, kind of like, she understood where I was coming from as a creative, being kind of shunned by all of these teachers who weren't up for it. And it's just so funny, that kind of full circle. And now I'm teaching the things that other teachers were telling me not to even think about doing.
Mate, but when I look back in my part, I mean, at junior school, there was one teacher called Mr. Allenby who was amazing, and he saw the best in people and he encouraged them. The rest of them, well, the headmaster was a nonce. I mean, he ended up in strange ways, and there was all sorts of stuff going on, mate. But that one teacher stuck with me because he saw not only me, I could see him encouraging everybody else. But I think back now and I think how hard it must have been for him with all the peer pressure and the others going, why are you doing it like that? We don't do it like that.
Listen, I say this all the time that, you just said there, Matt, that, you're younger than us and, how it was for you when you were in school. Now think back to the late 70s, 80s when we were in school, or rather not in school.
Oh, yeah.
And things have changed so much. I mean, there's still so much shit out there that's wrong. There's no two ways about it. But Jesus, we've come a long way.
Oh, massive.
We've come a long way. It's like the mental health thing. I mean, my eldest is 19. Then I've got a 13-year-old, and I think the youngest is about 12. I don't know. I always forget that one. But the way they talk about everything, sexuality, colour, mental health, a completely different world. Doesn't come into it. They are so switched on.
Yeah, I've been teaching. So I taught year 5 and year 3 poetry and spoken word, and it's quite an ask.
Yeah.
To even to get words out of these kids the majority of the time, and I was a bit nervous going into it, and we were going to kind of I was like, well, how much are they going to know? And the teacher said, can you do a bit about climate change and human rights? And I was like, oh, what, year threes know about climate change and human rights? Get into the class, we're making this word bank, and they're saying words that I've never heard in my life before. Like, they're talking about the Paris Agreement. They're talking about, the environment being this, they're talking about the bees and the classes that they've had with the bees and the honey. And I was like, I was blown away.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like, and then they're talking about, we're discussing songs, because I like to teach about lyrics and the way that lyrics are structured to make a story and to also have such important messages in them. So we're talking about like The Greatest Showman, the movie, and I'm talking about it like to these kids, and they're going, oh yeah, but I think it's about like racism, and it's about being who you want to be, and really and for these transgender people who might want to be a bit more out there, and it's like, wow, okay. I didn't learn about this shit. Like, wow, this is unbelievable. And there's a girl there, bless her, she was absolutely amazing. She was like, it's like if I turned around to this person and said, go back to your own country, and that would be the wrong thing to say. And I was like, wow, I'm so glad that whatever this school is that you're at is absolutely on board with teaching the right sort of shit.
Yeah.
Amazing, honestly.
I mean, that's why it's not a good time to be a copper, because all the kids know the human rights. It's like the old days where they could just go, there you go, clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, none of that.
One of my first pieces that I wrote, it talks about mental health just a minute ago, but that was the first piece I wrote about mental health. The second one I wrote was about teachers and my experience at school.
Right.
I'll do that in a bit when we when we have a bit of a chance, because I don't think many people have heard it, but it's one of my kind of favorite pieces as a spoken word artist, because that trying to make a comparison between the teachers saying you'll never amount to anything and me saying, hang about, what are you talking about? Because I'm creative, I'm not going to amount to anything. So interesting. I'm really just like proud of that piece.
Have you played that? Has your dad heard that one?
Yeah. My dad has heard that. He was on board. He was like, yeah, I get this.
I'm sure he sees it all the time. I mean, if you again, we only had this discussion the other day. There's no reason to believe that there aren't wrong uns in every part of society. It's like when someone turns around and says, "Oh, we've got a bad copper or we got a bad priest," and you think, "Yeah, so where's the surprise? It's all society. There's wrong uns everywhere, aren't there?"
Of course, yeah, it's balmy. But it is what it is, and we do what we do to kind of get through stuff.
Tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Matt Concannon. I also go by the name of the Thirsty Poet. I am an actor, spoken word artist, and I run a mobile coffee shop and bar called the Thirsty Poet, which is based down in Boothstown in Salford. And I go to events and gigs and perform poetry and serve up beers and coffee to people. Yeah, that's me.
What an ideal situation, Paul.
That sounds like
if I give you my address, can you just park up outside, do a bit of poetry?
Absolutely. I'm just doing the van at the moment. I'm just kitting it out a bit more now, making it a bit more summer ready.
When did you start that off then, the Thirsty Poet?
So I started it in the first lockdown. It was about June, July, and yeah, just after being locked in for as long as we were, it kind of came to, I love going for a coffee. Every time I've been on tour, I always find the independent coffee shops and support them. And with everything being shut in that first lockdown, I was like, well, there must be a safe way to do this. There must be a safe way to still go out when they're saying go and do your 1 hour of exercise or whatever it was. There must be still a safe way that people can have a conversation and face-to-face, interaction. Because, even now, and we're, a year down the line, we're still getting, like, elderly people come out. And if I'm the only person that they're seeing in that day, it's like, blooming heck, it's quite big and it's important.
Massive, mate, that. Massive.
You forget how kind of even just going to a coffee shop and just picking up a coffee can be so much more than just that cup of coffee that you're about to drink. It's about the interaction, it's about the conversation and talking about things and real things that humans talk about. So that's kind of where it stemmed from.
I was talking only yesterday, talking to my partner about that, saying she'd never think of going in a coffee shop ever, right? It's too expensive. I'm not going in there. I can have one at home type of thing. Me and Paul, when we was out and about and the charity was first starting up and everything, there's probably not a coffee shop in Manchester that we've not been in to meet somebody.
Pub. Let's not kid ourselves, mate.
Yeah, but it was just that, how many times have we been in TAC in the Northern Quarter or up to, what's the one at the top end that we go in a lot? The Coffee Pot.
Yeah.
Places like that. And it's just, we've had meetings in the Art Gallery Cafe and we've had meetings in the music. And it's not just being there, it's the venue and the people being around and the inspiration. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah. And trying to like the name and kind of bringing myself as much as my personality as I could to it. I'm poet first, and then I've set up the coffee shop. So I was like, well, I'd be really interested to try and bring a bit of both, because you'd go to, like you said, you go to an art gallery or a museum or a library sometimes, and there's a coffee shop in there. Even in Waterstones, there's a coffee or something like that, and you can sit there and you can read a book and have a coffee, and that starts a conversation, doesn't it, with other people?
Even in pubs, you're not the most popular person in the world if there's a massive queue at that bar and you go up and say, "Can I have a flat white?"
No,
you go to the machine and you can tell they hate doing it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And they used to just go in, pouring a pint and then getting it gone. And yeah, if there's someone, but I'm often that person who just goes and says, I'd really like a coffee, and I just sit down in a corner and just, get on with my stuff, or sit and watch people. And
oh, mate, I mean, pubs especially, and they talk about coffee houses, but the thing with pubs is certainly the community pubs, the massive hubs. Oh, they do so much money. It really, really pisses me off when people say, well, we can do without the pubs, or they shut the pub. They do so much. And if all they're doing is that one person who goes in there and nurses a pint for 5 hours, but gets to chat with someone like that person who comes to you for a coffee, he's sat on the lonesome for months and months and months, and the only conversation they're getting, and I'm not putting you down, but the only conversation they're getting is when they come out and they get a coffee.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's massively changed, hasn't it? It might have been in the past. I'm old enough to remember what the vault was like, and people weren't allowed in there, and it was very exclusive and smoky. And but now, I mean, if you go in a pub or a bar in the afternoon, you often get like a group of young mums that are meeting in there just to have a drink and share their issues, their coping strategies, instead of them struggling at home on their own, coming out, meeting with a few people in the same situation, and and it lightens their day. Do you know what I mean?
I'm in touch with 7 Brothers contacted us not long ago. We have a little bit of a collaboration where I'm going to run some spoken word evenings, and also be part of their I think it's like a beer festival that they're doing through July.
Brilliant in there, because they've got a new place, well, relatively new, haven't they?
They've got a few little venues now. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, they've done really, really well.
We were chatting, and I just saw today, they've made a beer for Rob Burrows, the rugby lad who's got MND.
Yeah.
And they have, they've set up this new beer called Roadrunner, which is for him, and proceeds of that then go to the charity. And you just go, bloody hell, it's more than just a pint in a shop. It's more than just, it's the conversation, and then actually when you look into what the beer's about, it's more than that. And as a venue to be able to do something creative in there as well, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting back into a pub for sure, but also be creative and meet people and get to know people that way.
But it's knowing that local history, folklore, narrative. It's like if I go in, I used to love traveling about. Say I went to Dublin, I'd look up which pub like U2 started in, or which pub that James Joyce wrote there's always that added history, and I like to sit in there. It's not about drinking the beer. It's not about getting drunk. It's about sitting there and soaking up that culture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been to Dublin a few times, and like you just see all these pictures on the walls of like who's been there before. Even like when you go into town and there's like the Georgie Best pub, I can't remember what the name of it is. It's all Georgie Best pictures on the walls because the owner of it absolutely loves him. And you just
he's a big red in it. It's near the town hall.
Yeah,
not the Rising Sun.
No,
Just a bit further down there, yeah. Oh, mate, a lot the older pubs that are still around. There's some stories in those.
Of course, yeah, and with Manchester being such a, having such icons come from those places, you've got to talk about them. They're a conversation starter. So,
of course, yeah. I mean, we've always said it's. I mean, my bugbear is people constantly going on about the hacienda.
yeah,
And that part, I lived through there, went once, didn't go again. It was a shithole.
really,
And I get its impact and all that, but it's like constantly harking back to the past. So they're looking at people like yourself and saying, well, hang on a minute, no, let's look to the future. And you can be inspired by anything. You can be inspired by the hacienda, but you don't rehash stuff. And that's why I like, the stuff that you do, a lot of the spoken word stuff that is about what's going on now. Yeah.
I try and make things as relevant as I can to the moment, but I don't want to force it. If there's nothing out, if I can't be that voice for that thing, that whatever is happening, I don't want to try and force being that voice, because otherwise it becomes quite dangerous. You put yourself in a very difficult position. You put yourself in a place where you're going, my opinion is greater than yours, but you're the one affected.
Not only that, man, spot it a mile off. If you're not authentic, spot it a mile off.
Exactly. So when I start writing about stuff, it's because it affects me. It's because it really, really affects me. And I'm not saying the other things don't, but like I couldn't sit there and write about, the Sarah Ever and, the girl down in London. I couldn't sit there and write about that. That wasn't my place to write about something. But the food banks and Marcus Rashford having all of the problems with having to support kids and out of his own pocket to set up a charity. It's like that I can write about, because I go, fuck me, man, what are you playing at? Why is the government doing this sort of stuff where that affected me? Not greater. There's no sort of balance, but I knew that I could just go, right, I'm going to write something about this shit, because it pissed me right off. But that was my voice ready to say it, whereas the others have been like, I haven't got that voice. You guys have got that voice. This is someone greater than me. This is not for me to say about. And I will do what I can to support, and I will be there to support, but I can't voice that.
We had that discussion around the BLM movement not so while ago, which is, I've got, we've got Matt Made, got my main productions, we've got the pod play and do all that kind of stuff. So I work with a lot, but I only work with actors I want to work with and creatives I want to work with. But because I'm in that position, I'm not in that industry. I don't want to be in that industry. Cool. I just create what I want to create. But it was like, well, why aren't you? You should be working with more black actors. You should be working with more black creatives or telling more black stories. And it's like, how as a 50-year-old white bloke can I possibly? I can have empathy with it and everything else. But like you've just said, I can't tell their stories. I'll bend over backwards to make them happen using whatever I can. But I can't tell their stories because I've not lived that life.
No, and why there's going to be someone with a greater voice who therefore then won't get heard if you start posting something out. You know what I mean?
Spot on.
My one of my good mates, I think he's sent a few things to you guys. Ruben Johnson, he's amazing poet, absolutely fantastic rapper. Like he's one of my best mates, and things that he says are things that I couldn't say because they come from a different place.
Well, the piece that he did, which went absolutely skyrocket,
mad.
That was a proper kind of, and not many things stopped me in my track.
Yeah, you just sit back and you go, I'm going to listen to this because it's raw and it's real and it's from a place that is so, I don't know, like gut wrenching, I guess. So it's personal. Why? It wasn't for me to tell a story about Black Lives Matter and my experiences with it. I can sit there and just, like they said, it's not, the whole thing was like the same with not all men. All lives matter. It's a case of going, right, okay, well, I'm just going to sit and listen and support and be there with you guys and listen to what you guys are saying. That's the important thing. Listen to women, listen to BAME communities and what they have to say. That's what the whole thing was about, learning.
That personal reflection was the strongest thing you could do. Is actually thinking, how do I fit into this? Have I been a problem? What have I done in the past that's wrong, so that you don't do it again? You know, it's a learning process until somebody pulls you up about it. And
Well,
says,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
you're out of order. But that was like more on a more global scale of pulling the whole world up and giving it a shake and saying, oi. Do you know what I mean?
Come on, we're not talking about every single person here doing something wrong, but we're saying every single person could probably do a bit better.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I mean, you know, we've been around long enough. When you reach a certain age, you've been around long enough to have said a lot of stupid things.
Yeah.
About all sorts of things, and you know, hopefully you learn from that. I think I have, and you know, I'm sure Damien has, but I've got mates who haven't. On all sorts of things, and that's, you know, where you make your personal choice, isn't it?
Well, you look for that opportunity challenge. I mean, I used to take lads out on community service at one point on the vans, and other people won't get. You know, I couldn't wait for somebody to say something that was out of order, because I'd be like, "Oh, do you really think that? All right, okay." So, you know, whether asylum seekers shouldn't come here and stuff like that. Do you really think that? So, where's your granddad from then?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's Irish. Well, so he came over as an immigrant then. And once you start unraveling that, especially in, like I say, the middle of a field with a load of lads that are on community service, and they're all going, well, actually, you got a point there, Damo, right? You know, you broke into a whole new world rather than sat in a people who were.
It's like you've got to be that person, haven't you, to make that connection with people. I guess that's, you know, why with the spoken word I do is try and find that connection in a way like you saying, oh, but do you really think that? It's me going, right, okay, through spoken word and through this, I'm going to answer all of your sort of, or even just ask your questions that you are already asking, and not be so much from my own opinion, but try and put everyone's opinion out and be a bit more, I don't know, I don't want to sound big-headed, but like clever with what I'm saying, rather than just going, I feel like this, it makes me upset, I don't like this. It's like, well, there are some people who don't agree with that, so let's try and roll their thoughts.
Well, they're never going to change, mate. They're just going to say, well, he chat shit. Do you know what I mean?
It's also getting your message across by stealth, which is, you know, what we do. If you go into any place and you know, and what you're really trying to get across, 9 times out of 10, you come out with it, boom, you know, the shutters are down, not interested. You do it a slightly different way, and be a little bit creative. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Be a little bit creative. Can you do something for us, Matt?
I'll like we were talking about school just before, so I'll do my little school piece, because I think it's I think it'll resonate and make sense with the school talk that we're doing. So so this is called Climbing Out of the Negative. This is for the people who said I'd never amount to nothing. So I climbed a mountain to get out the depths of something that you made me feel that I couldn't be. I had to prove to me, see between the cracks that lay in front of me that you made appear, dry my tears, see the sheer cliff face with no fear, no helping hand, no bag of chalk to douse my hand. Then again, you'd never understand. Because I packed my ropes and was ready to scale, desperate to show that I am willing and able, shackled like Shackleton with no chance to fail, no slips and not even a guide rail. I had to achieve, prove to these who ridicule with ease and tease and drop the kids' self-esteem lower than roots of trees. Because at school I asked too many questions. I was shunned for being easily interested, blessed with the want to learn, the keys to turn, the ability to sit, quiet, listen, stern. No, my focus wasn't always the best it could be. But you see me, I was clinging to bigger and better dreams. I had to wear my heart on my sleeve, nobody harnessing me. It seems you teachers couldn't help me. I had to belay my own dreams. But maybe I wanted to learn more than you could teach me. I had to breach these walls so you would reach me, scale the highest heights, push with all my might, free solo, long, hard day through tonight with a rucksack packed with all my tools, looking like a fucking pack mule, isolated in my isolation, 5 minutes late, and what am I supposed to learn? Staring at a wall. But all these walls that you put up in front, I had to bear the brunt. When you said that I couldn't, I wanted to call you up, but I couldn't. Because I had to make good of the bad situation, study hard, have self-dedication. My education wasn't all I wanted in life. And no, I was never going to be academic. But those words you say stick, make a kid sick. I had to work my way up quick from the ground up, grappling hooks so we didn't pile and mound up, scrambling foothold after foothold, no helping hand to hold the creative in me that you stole. I had to go it alone to the limits to get it back, frayed ropes about to snap, pull up that slack. And did you expect to see me conquer this cliff face? Be where I am today, up and down the UK, doing what I was meant to do in my own way, staring down at that path you didn't want me to take. And week after week, I pass all of the scenery, sat on the trains past the constant greenery, through cities that you never thought you'd be seeing me. I walked into the wild, and I took a step back and looked at myself as a child, because I bridged that gap. I broke my back, took up that slack, conquered that vertical crack, and that's where I'm at. To the teachers.
That was, wow, brilliant. Love that, mate.
I'll tell you what,
I'm more impressed about the words, which are amazing, or the fact you've remembered them all.
I've performed that one before live in a theatre, and I kind of tried to make it as much of a sort of, to make it quite theatrical, to make it quite performed, because it can be, you know, I want to get someone to film it. I'm in touch with a director at the moment who, fingers crossed, will be up for the challenge of kind of taking this somewhere and maybe, you know, going up on a hill and being out in the countryside and trying to film this, like, as a school kid, trying to get out and climb up this wall of the negative sort of comments that these school teachers were saying. So,
well, you summed up. I've worked in prisons, I've worked all over the place, and it's that struggle. The lads from Salford, the lads from Manchester, the ones that have told they never achieved something, and there's a clicking as all. I think there's a little switch sometimes where you go, "Fuck you,"
yeah,
you know what I mean, and that comes through that piece all the way through.
Yeah.
At some point, there's that little moment and some little voice in all that sort of Greater Manchester heads that just goes, "No, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway."
No, it's a trait. It's DNA. Listen, Manchester, Salford DNA. If somebody says you can't do it, even if you know it's not the best thing in the world for you, you go, "Oh, fucking, I'm doing it." Then you know it's the worst thing in the world you can say to someone from this part of the world. You know, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Or I'm telling you, you can't do that, and you go, right then.
But it's nice to find out the hard way, and then also find out the way. If it does work, you just go,
you know, thank Christ for that.
I am glad I did that.
Oh, you look around and you go, "How the fuck did I get away with that?" So I'll try it again.
I'll try it again. Yeah.
No, I love that. I mean, you know, obviously, I'm saying obviously the fact that you've got the acting chops makes it and it is a performance. When people say, "Well, I'm a spoken word performer," that it's that performer, that performance, which is the thing that really, really appeals to me. And again, I've said this the other day, speaking to somebody else. Poetry, great, and you know the difference between poetry and spoken word. Everyone's got a different opinion, but it's that. I think it appeals more. It is more inclusive.
Yeah,
and I think it's definitely more inclusive to the younger generation, and most generations are younger than me and him. But I think that's where it's going to hook. I mean, doing that in schools. I mean, it's rapping.
It's more engaging, isn't it? If somebody comes on, I remember that when we did our opening night and we got Keaton up to, he'd done that piece, and we were running out of time, and it was at the Mustard Tree, and we had a little stage set up, and Keaton's coming up to do his piece, and I goes, "Yeah, mate, do you want the mic stand?" He said, "No, fuck it, I'll do it here." And it was like, that was the best thing he could ever, you know, whether he planned it, whether he went, "No, I'll do it here, give me the mic." And he just stood in the middle of the stage behind him. And for me, that just set it off. Do you know what I mean? It raised him up a level.
The thing is, like I was telling the kids that this past week, and I'm teaching for the rest of the week, and then I'm also teaching the teacher trainers as well. So the guys training teachers, I'm teaching them about what I do as storytelling. Because
brilliant idea.
It's not just for kids. Like, kids can tell stories, and one of the exercises is just getting them to be so creative and finish the next person's part of the story, and you just work around in a group like that. But adults sometimes really struggle, and they stop and they overthink things, and
they lose it. They lose the ability.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I'm so glad that I have kept is that sort of childlike way of thinking. You know, I wrote a piece, another mental health piece, which is on in the Lowry, as part of the Days Like These exhibition, and it's all about bubbles and being a kid and blowing bubbles, but the message is about mental health and the emotional bubbles and the anxiety bubbles of anxiety and depression. And I did it to the kids, and some of them understood, some of them didn't. Some of them, it was just a nice poem about bubbles and blowing bubbles and a playground and stuff like that. But some of them understood, and some of them were like, "We're in a support bubble." And I was like, "Fucking right, you are. Like, this is what it's about. It's about you guys. It's about us being stuck in these bubbles." And you know, it's finding that way to say this story. And I like
it's giving them the opportunities. I mean, you know, I own 3 of them. You know, I own 3 kids, and you know, even when you're with them all the time, sometimes you don't give them enough credit.
No,
you know, and they're very, you know, they are far more intelligent than what you give them credit for. And they do pick, they pick things up. You got to be really, really careful what you say. I have. Well, when I say you, I mean I have got to be really, really careful about what I say, because it comes back to me, you know, especially when you get to that cocky age.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you got to be
teaching that creative aspect. I mean, you're totally on our level. That's what we do with the charity as well. We don't, when we go in to do a project somewhere, whether it's homeless shelter, whether it's older people, whatever it is.
Yeah.
When we're having that initial discussion with whoever sort of wants to partner with us, I always say to them, "What about your staff?" I'm not just here for the beneficiaries. I'm not here for the, you know, we will help them. We will provide services. We will do all that. What about you? How are you feeling? Is there some way we can do some workforce development and show, it could be carers, it could be people in the council. And I always say to them, look, do you want us to do some workforce development sessions and get your people involved in creativity and using it as a tool?
I think that's so important. That's what I'm finding, you know, after having the conversation with this the teacher who's got me in. It's like, right, all right, you're about getting, you know, she wants me to get them to write their end of term review as a spoken word piece. Ha! God, Jesus, I'm like, absolutely, like, give me as, you know, I'll be there all day, and I will help these people to say something and making it more, I don't know, if it's more interesting at times, if it's more, you'd be able to voice things that you can't usually just write down on a piece of paper.
It's a challenge, Matt. It's a challenge, and it gives me hope to hear that there's a school or whatever, you know, that's actually asking you to do that. And
I'm buzzing. I'm honestly, I'm so happy that I mean, not only because I'm teaching something that I love to do, and it's easy to teach the things that you love.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it like during a pandemic when, you know, a lot of these kids and the teachers have lost that sort of connection, and yeah, it's really
You'll stick smiles on faces, mate. The most important thing, you know. I mean, we call ourselves Manx Spirit Greater Manchester's mental wellbeing charity, and for us, although the ethos is all about creativity, whatever it is, it's all about sticking smiles on faces. If that's the least we do, is that someone gets involved with anything that we do, and for an hour they're just not thinking about all the shit they've got to deal with.
Yeah, respite.
Yeah,
you know, at the end of the day,
then that's it. And you never know, where that's going to lead. Going back to were you doing a lot on the open mic circuit before the apocalypse?
Not really, no. I don't know if you know the lads at Saying Manchester.
Yeah.
Spoken word night. They do some stuff at the Nymos in Wally Range, and they're really good at supporting like new writing. So I did a few of their sort of nights, but only performed at one of them. And before that, no, I was on tour, so I was like, I wasn't able to do stuff. I'd go and see a few bits and pieces like around, but I think I just got back to Manchester just in time for everything to shut down. So didn't get the chance to make the most of the Manx sort of scene. So I'm really, really, really excited to kind of get back out there and get meeting other like-minded poets and spoken word artists, and having the opportunity to run my own like sessions as well. I think that's going to be It's going to be mint. I'm absolutely buzzing to kind of create this sort of I don't know, like a community of people who are just after speaking their hearts out, and that's what I want it to be called, is Speak Your Heart Out. Speak Your Heart Out Manchester. I think that's the way it'll be.
That's a great name, mate, and there's a massive opportunity to do that. There's a massive opportunity to do that.
And if there's anything we can do to help any of that, mate, don't hesitate to get in touch. You know what I mean? Massively.
I think, I'd be interested to find out a bit more about your charity that you do, because that might be something that can kind of intertwine and stuff.
Oh, mate, that's already set in my mind. That we'll have that conversation. There's no two ways about it. And, and the ethos of what we do with the charity is that, we work with a lot of creators, but, we pay the creatives to run the sessions. I'm a massive believer. Listen, I mean, I do all sorts of projects, and sometimes, you said, listen, there's no money, but we're doing it, and this is why we're doing it. And if you want to get involved, get involved. No one's grabbing your arm and saying you have to get involved, but people generally do it, and then whatever. But can you do some more pieces, mate?
So I was thinking to do something which is a piece that I wrote because I didn't know why I was writing it, and I work with words, and the reason why I work with words is because I love them, and it's something that, there are artists out there who paint pictures, there are other people who write words down, and other people get to perform them, and I didn't know why I was writing this piece, but I realised just how powerful words are. This one ended up getting studied in a high school in Swinton, and the kids actually got back to me on what they thought this poem meant, and I was like, oh right, cool, yeah. Well, fucking hell, I didn't even know. I was just writing this stuff, and it was just kind of throwing out of my mouth, and I was like, what is happening? What am I writing about? And I ended up calling it Live by the Words, and it's all sort of, I think there's a few little metaphors in there about kind of fighting and how powerful they can be, but also how damaging they can be.
Yeah.
Is there a hint of spirituality in there, Matt, sneaking through? I mean, I'm a druid. I'm heavily into spirituality, and words are very powerful and magical. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think there definitely is, and that's why I wanted to kind of make this piece, which, I don't know, maybe it is a little bit sort of magical, and it gives you the sort of thinking space. So I'll do this one now. Why not? So this is called Live by the Words. Look, I'm not a fighter. I don't fight, but when I do, swords without the S are what I fight with. A pen is my weapon. War scars drawn on skin with a pencil that I write with, the battleground marked with evenly spaced lines on an A4 Colosseum. Gladiators, ready? See, what I write in life echoes in eternity. A scribbled attack on the enemy, tongue-twisted martial artist to pen the opposition. To live by the words. To die by the words. Look, I don't fight, but when I do, I write to fight for rights, right with passion. Handcrafted like a blacksmith, wordsmith, sculpting instruments made of sharpened lead, held like an arrow in my fingertips, a quiver strapped to my person to riddle with the mind of my opponent. Look, I'm not a fighter, so a writer is what I am, gripping the pencil tighter, hitting with language but not curses, combination word attacks in verses. I throw metaphors like daggers, lyrical lines staggered, strategically pinpoint precision, defense on the fighter's block. Hole punched from the writer's blocked. My word weapons can attack and protect. Words that cut with a blow. My words can cushion the blow. And your actions speak louder than words. I put up a sentence shield to protect the sticks and stones that break your bones, and my words will never hurt you. Because I'm not a fighter. I'm a writer. I don't fight, so I write. Nice.
Excellent.
It's a bit different.
Oh, yeah. Brains all over the place on that one.
I couldn't keep up with you because you were throwing so many different metaphors and switching it. And, I was still thinking of something like, and I think, oh shit, I've missed a bit now.
You know what, Damo? I've had this thing with the people that have been speaking to, only because it works for me. Is like picking a line that really resonates and then coming back and saying that line that you said. That as you did, because it's genuinely meant something. I stopped doing that after about 5 seconds because I thought I can't write fast enough. I can't write fast enough.
Yeah. I was so interested, like, because I sent that to the school, and I put a little bit of a blurb of me just saying, like, look, I wrote this piece, and I think the message is that words can hurt, words can also save a lot of people, and the way that words were being thrown about by the government, at the time that I wrote this piece, you're getting false promises for one, you're getting told, certain people are lesser than others. And I was like, these are all words. This is someone's words coming out, and
the drip of it. Yeah.
But I think the fact that some of these words were prepared, and some of these, when you're watching those 10 Downing Street things, and they are looking at a piece of paper, and you go, fucking hell, not only have you said something which is really, really scarring and hurts a lot of people, you've actually written this down, and you were going to say it.
It's calculating.
You've had time to think about what you're going to say. Yeah. Why would you still say something which you know is going to hurt someone? So that's why words I just started rattling this thing off, and that's what came out as a piece.
Where were you when you wrote that?
I live in I live with my mum and dad, but I live in a freight container in the garden.
Right.
So me and my dad had just finished doing it as like a little project over the lockdown periods, and I was just sat in there because I'd kitted it all out. We've got it was really like comfy, and it almost felt like a little studio and a little desk and stuff. And then I just started writing. And I think it was, I might be wrong, but I think it was just after they'd said that they put us in that lockdown, which we weren't supposed to get come January. And they were like, oh yeah, on the 4th of January, we're going to be in a lockdown now. And we were like, whoa, what? You said everything was going all right. I think it was just after that. Yeah.
I can just imagine all your neighbours' curtains twitching every morning when you look out and they go, "You just put him in a container." He's just put Matt in a container.
I'll have to send you a picture after, but it's actually quite it's quite cool. It's not like,
I'm sure it is, mate. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's yeah.
I don't feel like I don't feel like I shouldn't be in there. That's for sure.
Matt, if you need help, mate, if you need help, just write something down.
There's a little signal that I can give you guys over the video. No, it's really nice, and it's kind of the home away from home, but I don't know, having my own little space to be creative and stuff. Yeah.
I totally agree. I'm not going to go too much into sort of the politics and stuff like that, but I have never ever known a time where they're so divisive and so menacing is the word that keeps coming. Every word that's said is meant, and it is very carefully and calculating put together. And I have never known politics so toxic in my 50 years of pure lies.
Yeah, from all sides.
And manipulate. Oh, I mean, mate, I'm not even going to pick a... I put a tweet out before about the Tories, and I said I've got no time for Starmer either. Do you know what I mean? Where am I supposed to go with it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, like, one of the lines in it is your words can cut like a knife. My words can cushion the blow. Words can cushion the blow. My words can, and it's that sort of, right, so we can do both things. Okay, shit, how are we going to get through this?
Yeah. Oh, mate, it's a choice. It's a choice. I mean, we all say which is why we don't do these live. We all say we wouldn't still be doing them, believe me. We might do if anything ever happens, I might do an editor's cut a director's cut of everything we've ever done, and then just live in a bunker for the next 3 years.
Get in the freight container.
That piece fits on so many levels, though, doesn't it, Matt? Because, I mean, social media can, that's probably the most accessible level for any of us.
You only have to write something or tweet something out that then affects everyone else, and then everyone's got something to say. Everyone's got words that can just fall out of the mouth and not mean anything and not have been thought about enough.
It's that lack of a filter.
Yeah. Take your time. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. And a lot of these politicians have thought about what they're going to say and still say it. So that's just this. I don't know. I guess it's upsetting.
I mean, I know social media can be. I don't think social media can be toxic. I think some of the people using social media can be very toxic. And I've always found it to be, I've had my odd run-in and, I've had my odd whinge and said the odd thing, well, more than odd thing maybe that you think, oh, I wish I had said that. But generally, it can be really, really positive. I wouldn't have known what you do without social media.
Well, this is it. The contact I've met from doing this is being the best thing that could have happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great medium. It's a great medium for creatives. If creatives kind of, there's not a huge amount of support with supporting creatives. And I'll always say that. And there's not many people who know more about that than what I do. We're doing Made and everything else, and we're doing it a long time. Unless it's about them, it's very, it's not very rare. You get people who are really supportive, but the general consensus is, for creatives out there, it's like, well, I don't want to share that work from that person because I might lose out. Whereas you don't lose out by sharing anything. You just don't, because your work, I think, and I know a lot of people out there is different because it's you doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always going to be that people are either going to like the way that you do it. The words are never secondary. Don't get me wrong. They're really, really good. But it's the way you put it across, the passion that's there, your delivery style, everything else, and that's what people are buying into. That's why it's great with Twitter, because you can put it in small chunks.
Yeah.
Stick a minute video on there. Yeah, very, very powerful.
It's what you were talking about earlier, Matt, and me and Paul talk about it all the time. I use the phrase bubbles. I mean, it's funny, really, and it's happened in a lot of these sessions and interviews. What you're saying already there, mate, I totally 100% everything you've said. And there's too many people don't look outside their bubble, and we found, quite often we find whether it's actors, whether it's poets, whether it's like I only speak to other poets and you're like, mate, break out of that. You got to tap into other networks. You've got to do things differently. Do you know what I mean?
That's definitely the way that I've progressed is by, a lot of my mates are actors, but I don't always hang around with just actors.
No, I would never advise that, mate.
I think I'd go absolutely barmy otherwise.
Yeah, no,
wrong. It's nice to be around people and people who are really bubbly and, and I can sometimes be a bit in your face and sometimes you're like, oh, I just want to fucking chill and do nothing.
You know what? Creative people are ace, but they're also some of the biggest pains in the arse I've ever come across.
I know full well I am.
I've done a lot of stuff, mate. I've done a lot of stuff, worked with a lot of people. I've worked with some really hard-faced bastards in the business world, but fucking hell, give me them any day to, an actor or, and I've got a lot of mates who do it but it's that jump, it's that dipping your toe in, getting out again. Yeah. Doing what you want to do. I can work with, or I only work with, like I said, people I want to work. I don't want to work. I don't have to work with the dickheads.
No.
And I know that everyone has that opportunity. And the younger actors definitely don't. And that's what really, really concerns me, because they're having to work with people that ideally you don't want them anywhere near.
No.
But they're having to do it.
My drama school experience could have been somewhat like that with people who almost, you just know that they're not being themselves. They're being what they think that the director wants them to be.
Yeah.
You just go, well, it doesn't mean you're going to get work. Like, I'm very fortunate. I've worked with two of the directors that taught me at drama school, and I'm like, right, they've given me professional work, because I like to think I'm not an arsehole. I like to think I am just someone who gets on with what
you don't come across as an arsehole, Matt.
Well, I hope not. I know a lot of people would disagree.
You might be a good actor. I'm sure you are.
This might be an all an act right now. No, it's you just got to be genuine, and I think that's what I try and do with the spoken word stuff, is be as genuine as I can, be as like from me, like from the heart and the sleeve stuff as I can, because no one wants to hear what you think you should hear. You always want to hear the things that maybe you shouldn't want to hear,
and people will always see through it. I mean, mate, honest, I've never met you in person. The first time I met you on air, and you're totally genuine. You know what I mean? And
and likewise with you two. It's nice to have a chat and be quite I guess it's quite like bold we talked about not LGBT. We talked about Black Lives Matter. We talked about having a place to say some stuff and knowing the people who don't have a place to say some stuff. And it's quite bold stuff to kind of throw in a conversation. And politics, everyone has a different sort of insight on politics. But,
do you know what, Matt? Will I include that? I don't know. I mean, for the simple reason that I don't think anything that was said there was anything other than from the heart. And if you don't, and you certainly didn't say anything. I mean, what my biggest concern with anything that we do and anyone that we speak to, I don't care who comes after me and going on, but I do think about the other people that we're speaking to. I think what you said there was perfectly fair. Yeah, and if you're happy with that,
no, 100%. I think it is about being being brave in what you say, because I wouldn't have written half of the stuff I'd have written if I didn't think, you know what, I can be a bit brave and do this because of the response. And some people are going to like it, some people aren't going to like it. But fuck it,
mate. If you don't have the conversation, and I'll go back to that standing in the middle of a field with a load of lads on community service. If you don't have that conversation, and you don't, I wouldn't even see I don't say it as bravery. I say there's two sides of a coin. One's fear and one's love. And it's having love and compassion for other people and wanting them to do better. So if I don't challenge that lad, he'll always hold that hate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Gosh. Yeah, no, I'm on the same page as you by the looks of it, guys.
Can you do the? It always comes across this like do this, do that, do this, do that. But the Manchester piece.
Yeah.
Is
Golden Hour. This was a piece that stood out to a lot of people. A lot of people started sharing it. I think you guys obviously shared it on Twitter, but like Manchester Finest shared it, which was great, and it got quite a lot of views on Facebook and Twitter as well. So we were really pleased with how it all came about. But so this is me just doing it, but big shout out to Matt Melling, who was the photographer for the piece, and Matt Ruffley, who composed the music and underscored the music. So if you want to go and see this piece, you can see it on my Instagram, or I'm sure it's on Facebook as well, or YouTube. But yeah, this one's called Golden Hour. So losing focus on the normal things we used to discuss, streets abandoned by bees who gave the city its buzz, capturing images of a town that used to be filled up with fuss. Now even Golden Hour starts to adjust, because now it's just us holding on to our loved ones. So check the camera, zoom in, log in, lock down with your lockdown locks from being locked up now, longing for you to stay homebound and out of town. Question: is this the new normal? Stock loading and furlough, shops closed, no bog roll. We need to stop taking things for granted. And with slim chances of seeing our families, the overwhelming feeling enhances. We broke rules, took chances. For Black Lives Matter, we risked groups, knelt and took stances, and the government was too late with finances support, waiting for the next Downing Street report. No jobs but must redeem sport. But don't travel on public transport. Stay home and work alone from home unless you can't work from home. Boris, your rules are unknown. But we say thank you to the people who keep working, keep serving, keep working. Clap at 8 for those nursing. You kept your nerve when time's been unnerving. Those locked in working from home. The elderly and vulnerable stuck in on their own, getting deliveries by local heroes. The overloaded Amazon deliveries, Deliveroos, just to avoid overcrowded queues, hoping that the R rate starts to reduce. We'll paint a rainbow in the window from the ones forced on furlough, praying that the storm will pass tomorrow. So these are unprecedented dark times. So I wrote this rhyme for those who've had to change their lives, lost their lives, hoping that we see the light. Because I miss the smiles on the faces in familiar places, because now we only see gazes, because now we're masked. But I know that under that superhero disguise, there's always a surprising laugh about the new look. A city moved, globally shook, moving forward with a positive outlook. but we won't let it shake us down. We will rise up from lockdown. Worker B, rework this buzzing town, because we can only swim up when we're starting to drown. Nice one. God, it seems weird, because that's a year anniversary was yesterday, wasn't it? Since we went into
yeah. No, that's a great piece, mate.
It's no different today than a year ago.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's weird. Even I've not performed that one for a while. I did it a couple of months back. Well, I think it was November time. I did it at the Feel Good Club. The girls there, they got us in to do a little open mic night. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, in the future, we can do some more bits and pieces. But it was just me doing some of my spoken word to the punters in there, and I did that piece, and I was like, fucking hell. It was like 2 days before we were going into another lockdown, and I was like, oh, why is nothing has changed? Nothing is different. We are still in the same boat. Right. Okay. It was just interesting hearing people's reactions to it as well. They're like, oh, I feel like I'm there. Like we are there. It's like, yeah.
I like that. I mean, I probably get it wrong. It's just the last bit, not seeing the smiles, but seeing the gazes.
Yeah. Just from that.
That is really... And I mean, it's a really clever line, that, because it just it pretty much sums up. You're not seeing. I mean, how many times? Certainly with me, that you walk past some. If you let someone in, and you smile, and you think you can't see me smiling, you think I'm a miserable bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy, but it's become like I think when I wrote it, that superhero disguise is a bit like. We're all wearing, you put a mask on at Halloween, you put a mask on and you dress up and pretend to be someone else. And I think that's what we've all had to kind of do and put on a brave face, but the brave face has been covered up with this. So.
Well, do you know what, mate? I think it's going to take people like yourself to, as we start coming out of this, and we will sooner or later. I think we still got quite a few bumps in the road, but when we do start coming out of it, there are going to be massive issues. Well, there are massive issues now with mental health and mental well-being, but people are finding it difficult, and I do. We've both had blips. To put into words how they're feeling going forward, and it's always great when someone can put your feelings in using their words, and I think that's what's great about spoken word. I think that's great. What's great about poetry, that's exactly what it does, because you hear something and you relate to it. Same with music, I suppose. The same with anything else. I just think spoken word is more personal.
Yeah, it's coming from a person. I've never had anyone else perform my pieces. I've never had anyone else. I've never performed anyone else's pieces. I write for. It's really weird, but I write for me.
Yeah,
and that's my way of expressing how I'm feeling. They're my personal feelings. They're my observations. Yes, other people will share those observations with me and will be able to relate. But even the way that I deliver it, the sort of the sort of sections between it. Someone, if they just got it handed to them, they'd be like, I don't know how to make that rhyme, or I don't know how that line should flow. And it's
the pauses. For me, it's always the pauses.
Yeah.
And that's purely coming from your head straight out, isn't it?
Here's the thing, like when I wrote them, I don't write pauses in. I just go, if I'm feeling this moment and I just need to go and take that fucking beat, it's it's conversational. It's that pause that I just did then. You know what I mean?
Silence is really powerful, mate. And I mean, I've been a facilitator for years. I've worked in prisons, I've worked with Irish prisoners, I've worked all over the place. And it's leaving that space, and people find it really hard. Other human beings hate silence, so they feel that they have to fill it. You know what I mean?
My 12-year-old's not like that.
But you can also, if you leave that space, it gives people that, they fill it with the thoughts, is the way I sort of think about it. You give them spaces for people to, and like me earlier, to catch up sometimes.
Yeah. We studied in acting. We Harold Pinter, amazing writer, but he writes the pauses in. We call it the Pinter pause, and it's where you want to make the audience understand and take a moment to go, am I there? Am I with them? And sometimes you go, that's a bit long, or I wonder what he's thinking. It's the space in between the thoughts.
Yeah.
The stuff that's not said, which can actually be really, really powerful. Obviously, the way I performed it just then, if I was on a stage doing it, it'd be a different story, because I'd actually, you almost have the audience in your hand, and that's what you're kind of used to. You can afford to take.
You can see the reaction and work with it, can't you, mate?
And you can almost, sit in and make them feel a little bit uncomfortable. And
yeah.
One of my other pieces, which is Red Alert, which is about the theatre industry, it's give us a hand, no, not an applause. This isn't a pause for thought, and it's that little pause before. This isn't just. So I say,
can you do it for us?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. It was the 16th of March last week, and I wrote an extra part, but I'm not going to do that bit now. But I wrote this one last year because of the acting industry being a bit, not getting any support, and it getting absolutely ripped to shit by the government, and everyone was in the same position. They announced the Red Alert, which was this, the call to support theatres and creatives who weren't getting furloughed. They're all self-employed, weren't getting any support from the government. So this whole thing went out as hashtag We Make Events, and that was the big campaign.
Remember that, yeah.
But it was a year since they closed the doors on like the West End on the 16th of March, and I was like, fuck's sake. But yeah, it's very. I trying to use as many theatre sort of references as I can throughout it. So this is Red Alert. Give us a hand. No, not an applause. This isn't a dramatic pause. It's more of a pause for thought. Yeah, I thought there would be more than an afterthought. Can't say we haven't fought with stage combat. We fought lost jobs waiting for government support, company finances left distraught. This is a Red Alert. No bowing, instead we're bowing our heads, an industry left for dead, exposed to an invisible threat, putting the triple frets in a fret, musos gripping onto a fret, costume makers' lives on a thread, techies tiptoe on the edge of a tread. This is your Act 1 beginner's call. Straight to the curtain call. No performance at all. The trapdoors left open, waiting to fall. It's like we're living in a bad rehearsal. Now, as we're waiting in the wings for a lifeline to begin, wondering, will there ever be another play casting? Will I ever be on another stage casting a Shakespeare play, acting character stage blocking, or will I be spending more time blocking out the panic and worry, trying to shout to block out the blackout of the performance industry? Spotlights fade in instantly. But we'll leave a light on. Yeah, we got stage left behind. That sounds about stage right. Yeah, we fight for positive.gov advice, but there's too much silence backstage. No, there must be a strategy. Theatres can't be filled to a 10% capacity post-lockdown theatre normality. Is this our new reality? Empty seats left absently and performers impersonating a positive personality. An Othello quote by Shakespeare. Were it my cue to fight, I should have known it without a prompter. Well, fuck me. If I'd have known that, I would have carried him up and propped her up on my shoulders. That wouldn't be as hard as the disdain to the intellect's arts, culture. This is our unwritten improv chapter. Hashtag We Make Events. I'll try my best not to vent. This is a new age event, our frustration. Standing up to a nation. Can you see us? Or did we get booed off stage? Oh, the government are behind you. Oh, no, they're not. Oh, yes, they are. Oh, no, they're not. That's Red Alert. That's one of the ones I actually got to perform live at Nimos in town. And I wrote it and I finished it the day that it was about to be this open mic night. It was the first one they've done since lockdown. And I was like, I've got to do this piece. I've got to do it. I don't know it properly, but I know it enough to know it, off page and be able to still perform it enough. And it went down an absolute treat. I think there was a lot of people kind of feeling that sort of relevance to things getting shut down. And Oh man, I'm looking forward to getting back to work, but like it's a long way off.
Are you going to be going back into that musical theatre touring type thing, or are you whatever's there?
I mean, there's the competition's everyone now, so it's massive, which means that if I get an audition, there's usually a small percentage up for it as well. Everyone's up for it. Everyone's out of work. That's not just me. That's the tech teams. That's the lighting. That's the sound. That's the theatres as they are. Everyone's out of work. Everyone's looking for work. I don't think I'd go back on tour again. I think that's just it's quite isolating. You put yourself away from a lot of opportunities and things that can come around. More regional things, more Manchester-based things. Maybe hoping that things can kind of kick off and give me a bit more chance to explore the North and what the North has to offer as theatre and performance. But I don't know, the spoken word stuff is really, I'm really loving teaching it. I'm loving just the creative side of it. So and it's paying as well, which is mad.
Nice.
I never thought that it would be paying. 2 years ago, I tweeted the other day because it was World Poetry Day, and I was like, 2 years ago, I didn't have a clue what poetry was really. I only knew it as something I didn't like because it was the AQA anthology in my English lesson where my English teacher fucking hated me and my brother. And going back to the teacher poem, that one was for her.
Right.
But you just go, well, I don't know. It's something I never thought I'd be doing and enjoying as much as I am.
Listen, mate, I don't know many creators, as in actors, poets, spoken word, who are earning a living full time doing what they do. So, if you're getting paid the important thing for me is the fact that out of those kids that you're speaking to, I bet you can guarantee that there's going to be kids there that are could be doing this on the stage in however many years. Honestly,
I asked them to just write down some words, and whether they got confused, they started writing fucking poems. Yeah. And I'm talking like deep shit about climate change. They're talking about stuff which I was just honestly blown away by. And I'd be like, right, so what words have you got? Like, what words have you got that I can put on the board? And they were like, sir, I've got this whole poem that I've written. And I was like, right, okay, go on, give it, thinking like, it's going to be like 10 seconds, the bees are trees and leaves and seas and all that sort of stuff. Honestly, I was blown away. Honestly, it was unbelievable, the stuff that they're talking about already. And that's, you just go, well, where is this going to go? You might study English, you might study science when you leave here, you might do something completely different, but you'll always have that knowledge that you actually are able to write and be creative and use that sort of side of your brain.
Oh man, absolutely. But also it's competition. So what you've got to do is, if someone really good, you've got to go, well, it's okay.
It's all right. Yeah. But here's the thing as well, though, with poetry, like when I'm teaching adults and drama school students, it's I can't say that that's bad. Because this is personal. It's one person's thoughts. It's one person's idea. I can't grade anything. You can't go, oh, that one was better than hers because that one actually, touched me a bit more. No, that one might touch someone else. My poems might not matter to anyone. They might matter to, a handful. And then the other handful go, well, no, I didn't get anything from it. So therefore I can't grade, I can't judge. I know the people who are willing to put their, heart into something. But yeah, you can't grade anything like that.
No, I mean, I've had poets say to me, well, it's got to do this and it's got to go, and then it goes down a little bit, then it should. So it wasn't in the structure, and you think, yeah, but I really liked it.
And I had fun, and it was good, and I loved doing it. And that's where you go, okay, yeah, I'll shut up then. I'm not going to say anything about that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing a lot more spoken word. I mean, Biden's inauguration, that girl was absolutely amazing. Do you know what I mean? You see like George the Poet doing adverts now. You do. Yeah. It seems to be becoming a lot. I mean, I sort of look at, because me and Paul have seen a lot of spoken word and we've been out, we know a lot of the guys that do it. Mm-hmm. And they are becoming more political. And they probably have always been to a certain degree, but it's like the comedians used to be. You know, when I used to think of like not the 9 o'clock news and, you know, when people like that were coming through. But you guys now are sort of pushing the boundaries a little bit and being a bit cheeky with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, massively.
You are, but every piece that you've done, I've smiled at.
Well,
you know, so there's
good,
you know, there's something. If you just come out and just say, oh, everything's shit, and you know, and it's been a shit year, and go, you know, who's going to listen to that?
Everyone else can say that. Everyone else can say, I feel like this year was shit. Right? Okay, that's great. Why does someone need to remind him of that?
Yeah.
Just go, yeah, it's really shit. But let's mock how bad this. Like, I love Mock the Week because it is them just mocking how god awful certain things are. You just go, all right, well, I'll listen to you because yes, you're saying something I already know, but you're saying it in a way where it actually makes me feel a little bit better about the circumstance. And it makes me want to, like, you know, hope that other people listen and enough people are going to listen to make a change.
Spot on, mate. Can you tell us where can we find your work, Matt?
Yeah, so I post a lot of my stuff on the Thirsty Poet's Instagram, which is _co on Instagram. You can find it's me. You can find me on
Speaking
Facebook.
About himself in the third person. Not a good sign, Matt.
It's been locked down for far too long.
Matt, do you know after your name there it says he, him? I thought that was because you were woke rather than you were actually two different people.
No, I don't think so. When that comes off, the kids didn't know who I was when I took my hat off the other day when I was teaching. So I had to no, I'm bald. Don't worry, it's fine. But yeah, you can find my stuff on Facebook if you type in The Thirsty Poet. My website, which is www.thethirstypoet.co.uk. And I just tend to post things and see what people think. I'm trying to do a little bit more like some lighter sort of stuff. So writing stuff about, it was Mother's Day the other day, just trying to write something which is quite light. People just, you know, it's light. It's not always got to be political. It's not always going to be sort of hard hitting.
Angst.
which can often come about. But yeah, just that's where you can find me. And if you want to hear me do some more stuff, then just give me a follow. And also, if you want to come to the van and get a coffee, then I'm in Boogstown. If you go on my Instagram, you can see a link to where I'm based.
So where is the van then, more often than not?
So it's mainly the weekends at the moment. It's down in it's on the Bridgewater Canal, on the Boogstown. It's by the moorings, so it's where the little marina is, Boogstown Marina.
Right, okay.
Just after Worsley. So yeah, it's there, and you can chat to me about whatever the fuck you want, and I will listen, and hopefully, that's how you make a connection, and you have that genuine sort of conversation.
Do you know what, mate? It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm not a good actor, so you know what I'm saying is what I mean. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love your stuff. I love your whole outlook about it.
I just have visions
I can't wait to see what you do next.
Paul, we've talked about whether theatre is relevant anymore and whether the venues will be relevant anymore. I want to see vans on every corner with poets in them that serve coffee and beer. Yeah. That'd suit me down to the ground. You know what I mean?
Mate, the fact that there are people, and there are lots of good people. There are lots of good people out there doing all sorts of things, but it's great that, you know, there are people like you, because you're encouraged. But you're encouraged. The important thing for me is for younger people to get involved and take a punt and go, I can do that.
Massively.
And teachers and anybody else really saying,
exactly. Yeah, massively.
Yeah, fuck politicians. They'll never change.
We can try and make them, but no, you're right.
Should we invite them all to a session?
No.
Should we put an open call out to all the councillors?
I'd rather not, mate. But listen, there's definitely stuff. I mean, if you're up for it, Matt, we've got loads of stuff going on. I'd love you to be involved with the charity. I think there's.
If you've got any projects you think of, and we say this to everyone, the charity's not ours, even though we set it up and we run it. It's a platform for everybody else, and a lot of people look at us and go, "What the fuck you're on about? You try to take over." I'm like, I'm not. Really not.
Even if it's just, having you guys, knowing that you guys are there as a supporting sort of thing. So if it was an open mic or something like that, and it was, in support with your guys' charity, just something really, really nice to.
If there's any project you'd ever wanted to do, come to us.
Yeah.
Tell us if I can find funding for it, I'll find funding for it. And just use the charity, use the structure.
Right, mate. You have a good evening. And I hope you've got heating in that.
I do. I've got heating and I've got beers, so I'm all right.
Sounds great, mate. Right. Listen, thanks a lot. Speak soon.
Speak to you soon, guys.
Cheers,
Cheers,
Matt.
mate.
See you later,
care,
man. Bye, mate. Take care.
You're listening to That Great Mank Pod, Greater Manchester's community podcast. Top one, our kid.
I mean, London is somewhere I could never live, unless I was studying. It's too crowded. There's too much going on. There's Manchester's the place for me where family are here, mates are here, and everything's kind of on your doorstep when you're in Manchester. I think that's the blessing of it, and the community and like the way that us Mancs support each other. I think it just seems like it's like a family, like probably
we're not dicks, are we?
Exactly. Salford all the way, but as a whole, Manchester on a whole is it's a godsend.
Oh, we were having that conversation the other day. It's always makes me laugh that. I mean, I'm 50, Damien's 50, so we've been around a bit, but fucking hell, this Salford Manchester thing, it's just, you can say some of the worst things to people and get a better reaction than say to someone who's from Salford, oh yes, you live in Manchester. Do I fuck live in Manchester?
When people say you're from Salford, and you go, fucking what? Salford? What?